What if the gods of old never truly vanished, but instead linger in the shadows of our modern world, worshipped not in temples of stone, but in the quiet altars of human desire? Imagine a force so ancient, so potent, that its name echoes through millennia, whispered in both reverence and fear. Baal, the storm god of the Canaanites, the demon of Christian lore, the archetype of power and sacrifice. Could his influence still pulse beneath the surface of our lives today? This is no mere relic of history. This is a mystery that binds the past to the present, a riddle that asks, what do we worship when we chase ambition, wealth, or control? Welcome to a journey through the veiled corridors of esoteric wisdom, where we unraveled the enigma of Baal, a figure both divine and demonic, revered and reviled. In this video, we'll explore the ancient roots of this powerful entity, tracing his presence from the sun-scorched altars of the ancient Near East to the hidden corners of our modern psyche. We'll uncover how Baal's essence, cloaked in new forms, continues to shape human behavior, culture, and even spirituality. Through historical insights, philosophical reflections, and practical techniques, we'll reveal how to recognize and navigate the seductive pull of Baal's influence in your own life. Prepare to dive deep into the mysteries of a deity whose name has been both a prayer and a curse. We'll examine ancient texts, decode the symbolism of storms and sacrifice, and offer tools to discern whether Baal's shadow looms over your choices. By the end, you'll see the world through a lens of ancient wisdom, equipped to question what gods, seen or unseen, you may unknowingly serve.
In the ancient world, where the line between god and demon blurred like mist over a desert oasis, Baal stood as a towering figure, his name thundering across the Fertile Crescent. To the Canaanites, he was Hadad, the Stormbringer, the lord of rain and fertility, whose voice roared in the tempest and whose lightning spear pierced the chaos of drought. Temples rose in his honor at Ugarit, Byblos, and Tyre, their altars stained with offerings of wine, grain, and, in darker moments, blood. Ancient texts, like the Ugaritic Baal cycle, paint him as a warrior king, battling the sea god Yam and the death god Mot, embodying the eternal struggle for order against chaos. Yet to the Hebrews, Baal became a symbol of idolatry, a false god luring the faithful into betrayal, as recounted in the fiery confrontations of Elisha on Mount Carmel. By the time Christian demonology took shape, Baal morphed into Beelzebub, the Lord of Flies, a prince of demons whispering corruption into human hearts. This transformation from deity to demon reveals a profound philosophical tension. Baal was not merely a name, but an archetype, a vessel for humanity's longing for power, abundance, and control over nature's whims. The Canaanites saw him as a life-giver, their fields blooming under his storms. Yet the monotheistic traditions recoiled, sensing in Baal a dangerous seduction, the worship of material gain over spiritual truth. The philosopher Mircea Eliade might argue that Baal represents the sacred made profane, a divine force twisted by human greed into a symbol of excess. In esoteric traditions, Baal's dual nature, creator and destroyer, mirrors the alchemical principle of solve et coagula, the breaking apart and reforming of the self. His storms symbolize both life-giving rain and devastating floods, a reminder that what we worship can both nourish and consume us.
Baal's shadow stretches far beyond the crumbling ziggurats of the ancient world, his essence woven into the fabric of our modern lives like a thread hidden in a tapestry. To understand how a storm god turned demon still commands worship today, we must first see Baal not as a horned figure of myth, but as an archetype, a primal force that stirs the human heart toward power, abundance, and control. In esoteric wisdom, archetypes are not bound by time. They shapeshift, cloaking themselves in the desires of each age. Today, Baal's altars are not stone, but steel, not adorned with incense, but with the gleam of ambition, wealth, and influence. Let's unravel the first layer of this mystery: how Baal's energy manifests in our world, and how we, often unknowingly, offer him our devotion. Imagine a storm rolling over a parched land, promising both life-giving rain and the threat of destruction. This is Baal's essence, a dual force that offers bounty but demands sacrifice. In ancient Canaan, farmers prayed to Baal for fertile fields, offering grain or livestock to secure his favor. Today, we chase similar promises: prosperity, success, security. But the altars have changed. The corporate ladder, the stock market, the relentless pursuit of status, these are modern temples where Baal's energy thrives. When we sacrifice time, relationships, or integrity for wealth or power, we echo the ancient rites of offering to Baal, trading something precious for the hope of abundance. The 20th century mystic Carl Jung might describe Baal as an archetype of the shadow self, the part of us that craves control and external validation, often at a hidden cost.
Consider the metaphor of a river. Baal's energy is like a current, swift and seductive, pulling us toward immediate gain. To ride it feels exhilarating: promotions, luxury, influence. But the river often leads to a waterfall, where unchecked ambition crashes into emptiness or ruin. Esoteric traditions teach that true power lies in discernment, in choosing when to swim with the current and when to seek still waters. Baal's influence is not inherently evil. It is raw, primal energy. The danger lies in worshiping it blindly, mistaking fleeting rewards for lasting fulfillment. For example, the entrepreneur who works 80-hour weeks, sacrificing health and family for success, may be offering to Baal without knowing his name. The social media influencer chasing likes and sponsorships, driven by the hunger for validation, kneels at the same altar. To recognize Baal's presence, we must first understand his symbols in the modern world. Storms in ancient texts represented both chaos and creation. Today, the storms of Baal manifest as societal pressures, the relentless pace of consumerism, the glorification of wealth, or the cultural obsession with being seen. The Lesser Key of Solomon, a medieval grimoire, describes Baal as a king who grants knowledge of things hidden, but at the price of loyalty. In our lives, this translates to the temptation to trade authenticity for quick gains, whether it's cutting ethical corners in business or curating a false self online. The practical technique here is self-inquiry. Pause daily to ask, what am I chasing, and what am I sacrificing to get it? Journaling this question can reveal where Baal's energy pulls you, helping you distinguish between true needs and seductive desires. Another key concept is the nature of sacrifice. Ancient worshippers offered tangible goods, crops, animals, even lives, to appease Baal. Today, our sacrifices are often intangible, but no less real. Time lost to endless work, mental peace eroded by comparison, or values compromised for status. Esoteric teachings like those of the Hermetic tradition emphasize balance. To harness a force like Baal's, we must offer consciously, not blindly. A practical exercise is to create a sacrifice ledger. List what you're giving up: time, energy, relationships, for your goals, and weigh whether the exchange aligns with your deeper purpose. This act of clarity can break the spell of Baal's allure, redirecting his energy toward growth rather than destruction. In the next section, we'll dive deeper, exploring how Baal's influence hides in our spiritual practices, cultural narratives, and even our inner conflicts, offering advanced techniques to transform his power into wisdom. As we peel back the layers of Baal's enduring influence, we find his presence not only in the glittering temples of materialism, but also in the subtler realms of our inner world and collective psyche. Like a storm that shifts from raging winds to a deceptive calm, Baal's energy can masquerade as enlightenment, purpose, or even spirituality itself. In this deeper exploration, we'll uncover how Baal's archetype infiltrates modern spiritual practices, cultural narratives, and personal conflicts, revealing nuances and contradictions that challenge our understanding. Through esoteric insights and practical tools, we'll learn to transform Baal's seductive power into a force for wisdom and liberation. Baal's ancient worship often blurred the line between devotion and obsession, a dynamic that persists in today's spiritual landscape. Consider the rise of self-help and manifestation cultures, where the promise of abundance, wealth, love, success, echoes the Canaanite prayers for fertile fields. While these practices can empower, they often carry Baal's shadow, an insistence on controlling outcomes, a hunger for instant results, or an unspoken belief that external gains define inner worth. The mystic G.I. Gurdjieff warned of false awakenings, where we mistake ego-driven pursuits for spiritual growth. When we chase visions of a perfect life through affirmations or vision boards, we may unwittingly offer to Baal, sacrificing patience and authenticity for the illusion of control. To counter this, try a meditative practice. Sit in silence for 10 minutes daily, observing desires without acting on them. This builds discernment, helping you distinguish Baal's urgent pull from your soul's quiet call. Baal's influence also hides in cultural narratives, shape-shifting to fit each era's obsessions. In medieval times, he was Beelzebub, tempting monks with visions of power. Today, he appears in the myth of the hustle culture, where relentless productivity is worshipped as a path to divinity. Social media amplifies this, turning likes, followers, and virality into modern incense burned at Baal's altar. The nuance here is that ambition isn't inherently wrong. Baal's energy can fuel creativity and progress, but its unchecked pursuit often leads to burnout or moral compromise. The Zohar, a cornerstone of Kabbalistic thought, teaches that every force has a holy and unholy aspect. Baal's unholy face is the glorification of self over connection. His holy face is the disciplined use of power to uplift others. Reflect on this by asking, does my ambition serve only me, or does it ripple outward to others? Journaling your answers can reveal where Baal's energy skews selfishly. Let's explore a lesser-known contradiction, Baal as a symbol of inner conflict. In esoteric psychology, demons like Baal represent energies we repress or exaggerate within ourselves. For example, someone who shuns ambition out of fear may demonize Baal, projecting their unclaimed power onto others and resenting their success. Conversely, those who overactive ambition may embody Baal's destructive side, trampling ethics or relationships in pursuit of goals. The alchemical tradition offers a solution: integration. Rather than rejecting or indulging Baal's energy, we can transmute it. A practical technique is shadow work. Identify a trait you judge in others, for example, greed or arrogance, and explore where it lives in you. Write a letter to this trait, acknowledging its presence and asking what it seeks to teach. This dialogue can transform Baal's chaotic storm into a cleansing rain, fostering self-awareness. Finally, Baal's influence thrives in our resistance to surrender. Ancient worshippers offered sacrifices to control nature's chaos. Today we cling to routines, plans, or ideologies to tame life's uncertainty.
The Tao Te Ching reminds us that true power lies in flowing with the current, not fighting it. To release Baal's grip, practice surrender through a ritual. Each evening, write down one worry or goal you're clinging to, then burn or bury the paper, symbolizing trust in a higher order. This act redirects Baal's energy from control to faith, aligning you with life's deeper rhythms. In the conclusion, we'll weave these insights together, offering a final call to awaken to Baal's presence and choose what we worship with intention.
Having explored Baal's subtle presence in modern ambitions and spiritual practices, we now turn to a more enigmatic question. Are there cults or groups that actively worship Baal today, hidden in plain sight or in the shadows of secrecy? In esoteric traditions, the worship of an archetype like Baal doesn't always require altars or overt rituals. It can manifest through ideologies, behaviors, or even organized movements that echo his ancient promises of power, fertility, and control. While explicit Baal worship, as it was known in ancient Canaan, has largely faded, certain modern groups and cultural phenomena carry his energetic signature, consciously or unconsciously. Let's delve into these contemporary manifestations, weaving historical echoes with practical insights to discern their influence. First, consider the claim of literal Baal worship. Some sources, like a 2018 account by Nero Calatrava, describe a secretive community in Syria's Jabal an-Nusayriya mountains, allegedly practicing a form of Baal worship for over 2 millennia. These children of Baal, as they reportedly call themselves, claim to preserve a polytheistic tradition, worshipping Baal alongside other deities like Anat and Asherah, in defiance of monotheistic dominance. They assert a historical continuity, viewing themselves as remnants of an ancient Hebrew polytheism suppressed by Yahweh's rise. However, such claims are controversial and lack widespread corroboration, with some scholars suggesting they may reflect romanticized or fabricated narratives rather than verifiable practices. The Syrian civil war's devastation further clouds their current existence, making this a tantalizing but uncertain thread in Baal's modern story. More plausibly, Baal's worship persists metaphorically in modern ideologies that mirror his ancient cult's focus on fertility, power, and sacrifice. Certain evangelical and conservative Christian perspectives, like those found on websites such as churchandfamilylife.com and worldchallenge.org, argue that Baal's spirit thrives in cultural practices they deem idolatrous. They point to societal trends like consumerism, where wealth and status are pursued with religious fervor as a form of Baal worship. The glorification of sexual freedom, from media portrayals to public festivals, is likened to the sensual rites of Baal Peor, where ritualistic sexuality was a devotional act, Numbers 25, 1-5. Similarly, they equate abortion to the child sacrifices of Baal Haman, suggesting that prioritizing personal convenience over life echoes ancient offerings for prosperity. While these interpretations are polemical and rooted in specific theological lenses, they highlight how Baal's archetype, promising abundance at a cost, resonates in modern ethical debates. Esoteric thinkers might see Baal's influence in less overt groups, such as certain New Age or neo-pagan movements. While most modern pagans worship deities like Wicca's horned god or reconstructed pantheons, some fringe groups draw inspiration from Canaanite mythology, invoking Baal as a symbol of nature's raw power. These practices, often private and small-scale, focus on agricultural cycles or elemental forces, echoing Baal's role as a storm and fertility god. For example,
Community gardens or festivals celebrating Earth's rhythms, as noted by oracioncristiana.org, may unconsciously mirror Baal's harvest festivals, although they lack the explicit rituals of ancient times. Such groups rarely identify as Baal worshippers, but their reverence for nature's cycles can carry his energetic imprint. A more speculative claim emerges from posts on X, where some users assert that elite circles or secret societies engage in Baal-like rituals disguised as modern philanthropy or cultural events. References to adrenochrome harvesting or festivals like Burning Man as modern Baal worship, where hedonism and occult practices allegedly converge, are sensational but lack credible evidence. These narratives, often tied to conspiracy theories, reflect a cultural anxiety about hidden powers, much like ancient fears of Baal's seductive influence. Esoteric wisdom cautions against such unverified claims, urging discernment over fear. Instead, focus on the principle: any group or ideology that demands loyalty, sacrifice, or moral compromise for promises of power may channel Baal's archetype, whether they name him or not. To navigate these influences, esoteric practice offers a powerful tool: the ritual of grounding. To counter Baal's pull toward excess or control, spend time in nature, barefoot on soil if possible, and visualize roots extending from your body into the earth. Breathe deeply, affirming, "I am anchored in my truth, not swayed by false promises." This reconnects you to your inner compass, weakening the allure of external gods. Another technique is to create a values altar. Place objects symbolizing your core principles, for example, a family photo, a sacred text, a stone for grounding, on a small table. Reflect weekly on whether your actions align with these values, guarding against Baal's subtle temptations. Baal's modern worship, whether literal or symbolic, challenges us to question what we elevate as Lord in our lives. By recognizing his archetype in our desires, cultures, or even fringe groups, we can choose to redirect his energy toward creation rather than destruction, wisdom rather than obsession.
As we emerge from the storm of Baal's ancient and modern mysteries, we stand at a crossroads of awareness. We've journeyed through the windswept altars of Canaan, where Baal was both life-giver and destroyer, and traced his shadow into our world, where his archetype pulses in our ambitions, our spiritual quests, and even the hidden corners of culture. From the seductive pull of consumerism to the whispered rituals of fringe groups, Baal's energy remains a potent force, offering abundance at the cost of sacrifice. Yet this exploration is not about fear, but empowerment. By recognizing Baal's presence, we reclaim the power to choose what we worship, to direct his primal energy toward wisdom rather than ruin. The key lies in discernment. Like a sailor navigating turbulent seas, we must learn to read the currents of our desires, asking, "What am I offering, and to what end?" The tools we've shared, self-inquiry, shadow work, grounding rituals, and values altars, are lanterns to guide you through Baal's storms. They anchor you in your truth, helping you distinguish between fleeting gains and lasting purpose. Whether it's the pursuit of wealth, the allure of control, or the promise of spiritual shortcuts, Baal's influence thrives only when we remain unconscious. Awakening to his presence, as the mystics teach, transforms his lightning into illumination. Let this be your call to action. Pause today and reflect on the altars you've built. Are you sacrificing time, integrity,
or connection for promises of power or prosperity? Take one small step, perhaps a moment of grounding in nature or a journal entry exploring your deepest motivations to realign with your higher purpose. The storm of Baal may never fully fade, but you can learn to dance in its rain, harnessing its energy for growth rather than destruction. As the ancient alchemists knew, every force, even a demon's, can be transmuted into gold. So what gods do you serve, knowingly or unknowingly? The question lingers, like thunder rolling in the distance, urging you to look within. Subscribe for more journeys into esoteric wisdom, share this video to spark reflection in others, and comment below, what modern altars have you noticed, and how will you navigate them? The path to truth begins with a single courageous step. Take it now, and let the storm guide you to clarity.